Back, fans. Had a little technical issue that soon, I believe, we're going to be joined by none other than the Flame himself. He's going to try to join us up and link us up together here. He's going to send me a message as a young man that is very knowledgeable in Northeast Ohio. As a matter of fact, me and him on Facebook became the tag team champions of the world when someone picked on him. The Drgonsword came to his defense, and we tag teamed this bum right out of Facebook. Until then, I'll keep telling you the story because I see on X. If you want to find me on X, you can type in and follow me. It's capital D, Dragon, lowercase after Dragon, beats Rome. Rome are all in high caption. So it would be Dragon beats Rome. Rome's letters are in high caption. And as I was saying, going back to that fateful afternoon, I still have a couple. There's a feat I accomplished that you'll remember. If any of you clones ever listen to this, a clone is made of stone. That's what I told Rome that day. Everybody wants to be like you. I said I wouldn't want to be like you, because everybody knows your opinion. I like to hear other people's opinion. And here at this time, fans, if you were in a wrestling thing, it was kind of like a wrestling thing. I was like acting like a good guy because I didn't know any better on here. But I was starting to tilt, and the anger was and the frustration was getting to me because if you think about it, I'm getting smashed at every end. I'm getting all these people that have a platform, and they're all banging on me, and all I have is this one little rinky-dink phone line I call into. So let me check and see if we're going to be able to link up here, and he can also tell you some of the stories of the Drgonsword on here. Hold on, I'm just send him a thing to tell him to invite me. As you'll notice, I'm still getting used to all this, but this is something I went to do for all of you, and especially my brother Lyndon, in memory of him. He passed away about 4 years ago. And as the story goes along, you'll see that one of the most important things I can ever tell you, fans, of all the things that I've learned through this, family is more important than anything. You only get one brother, one sister, one mother, one father. It's important in your life that you don't waste time arguing with them. Your parents, most of parents, 90% of parents want what's best for their child. Here we have someone in the chat room, and it's Vincent Tondi. Any questions? Just give me a response. As I was saying, all of my, except for one, I have one brother left. I've lost two brothers, two sisters, and all of my elders are gone now, but I still have my children that are all grown. And it's been crossing my mind now that I got older that I wanted to straighten it out. And people would tell me it's time for me to tell my side of the story because it was amazing. Well, going back to Jim Rome, he banned monikers from that day on. And if you listen to him, you'll know I was the cause of that. That happened 20 some years ago. I don't think he'll even remember me, but he might. He might, because sometimes he suggests, but I would never call him back anyway. I didn't waste my time. I started to get a platform, and I would go into shows on 1390, had a talk show, small one, not a lot of listeners. It was over in Camel, a little radio station. But I went over and when I had my time off, I'd talk sports, I'd talk just about anything. Well, then comes the people that were trying to derail me, and they could not do it. Pat Mulrooney was a good friend, like I said, and I met a man called John Caparanis. And not knowing that was working with a guy who was actually telling everybody he knew who I was. But see, the secret of those guys, there's a code that they all had that they did. If they didn't know me, they would not release my name. So no one really knew who I was. And then, like I said, back then I changed my voice to hi fans, and it was a real high pitched. I'd change it back and forth. I met two men that had a big influence on my career as a radio personality. And John Caparanis never cared for the Drgonsword, but he wanted me to learn everything I could learn. And he brought me down into, because he had a lot of power in the valley. He brought me down into his station, and he taught me how to run the board at BBW, and I learned, and it was an older board. I mean, we're talking about 60s, 70s, old dials and stuff like that. He taught me how to answer the phones, and while he was talking, I'd transfer them over. I went through all the basics, and I learned all these things. Well, you're talking about the Mahoning and Trumbull Valley. And I'm not getting any money. Once again, I'm not. But I was getting perks. I will say that. BBW would give me coupons for free pizza, or they had coupons there to tickets to games. That was another perk. I went and seen quite a few Indians games. I seen the Browns once. These were all things. So JMO also started to back down too, and because their ratings were going back down. People were forgetting they were just not calling his station. And when I would call, the phone lines would light up. And still to this day, fans, to this day, there are radio announcers out there. And still are jealous of me and will not allow me to use the Drgonsword moniker because of what they believe. And I can understand it at the time. Then I didn't know it. But, me going along with the moniker and being so popular, I was taking away from guys that had went to school for this business and was legitimately getting a certificate to run boards or be personalities. But you see, as I learned this, I started to put it all together, and some of my friends are, I started to meet wrestling. I got wrestling tickets. I started meeting wrestlers. And that's where I started to pick up on exactly what the business was and how to run it in the same way. I talked to a couple of good friends, and down the road, I'll have them on the show. We'll have a few good laughs about it. Uh, Actually, one of the people, I'll give one of them out, was Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. I met him after the show at Beagley Center, and I was telling him in the back what was going on. And he said, it's exactly what he said. He said, negative attention. He says, because I said, you're a heel. And he says, and you're damn, he says, and I'm a damn good one too. He says, I would never go straight forward. He says, because negative attention is the most powerful attention you can get in this business. He says, because the heel people pay to see me get my ass kicked. And that's exactly what he said. I think it was an amazing conversation we had. It was not a long one, but I learned a lot from it on there. And then that's when I started acting a lot more like a heel, which drove a couple of radio announcers over the edge because I would attack them. So I went live on the air Saturday mornings. And this is about a year and a half later after all this had settled down. And now I had, uh, Caparanus would tell me that 850 in Cleveland, there were people up there talking about me, and 1100 WTAM, they were discussing me. And he said at some point, they may want you, they have the power to put you and pay you for this kind of business. He said, that's why I was teaching you. But I did concede one person's message to me that there wasn't a lot into it. So I enjoyed what I was doing just the way it was. I had a board to run during the week, and then I would run a show for Boom Boom Mancini. It wasn't just him then. There was another guy that had a boxing show. Of course, I wouldn't talk. I was just what they would call the production assistant on there. But you had to learn these things before you could be a talk show host. And this way I had to learn to do it on my own. So I would come and fill in with Jeff Ondash. I'd sit in with him and Pat Mulrooney, and they would call. And it had settled down at that time. And a lot of people would call in. Once I was live on the air, they'd call in and have a legitimate discussion with me. So things were really, really going good as far as my career. I was starting to settle in. I had radio stations that we were competing for analytics, who was listening to who. I was learning all these kind of things. And like I said, I was self promoting myself. I would call other places just to get my name out there. And it was Drgonsword, the greatest talk show host in Ohio. And I took it to Larry Cutler nationwide. I would call, and there would be some people that would call up and say, I'm sick of hearing him. He's on ESPN. ESPN put me on. I can't think of the news guy's name. He used to do sports, and then he had an MSNBC News. He did politics for years. He was one of the most popular people that I was interviewed by on ESPN, no doubt. On Thanksgiving, though, remember that. It was on Thanksgiving, and nobody was really calling in or listening, so they just allowed me an interview. So I I learned on here. One of the things I learned was from John Cena himself: ruthless aggression. And that was one of the famous lines that I always remember. Let me look at this here. When you start the live stream, is there an option to go live together? That's how you can invite me. Okay. I'm going to shut it down, fans, and I'm going to come back and see if there's an option to put him in here with me. I have Mr. Ryan Flame that wants to join in here, and we'll give it a shot and see if I can do it. Like I said, fans, I'm still learning this, and I'm going to be putting this out here on Facebook. I'm just doing this at night while everybody's sleeping, and there really isn't a lot of listeners right now. What I'm hoping for is tomorrow and the next day when it goes on YouTube, you you turn this on and you listen to it, and it kind of gives kind of not only with sports. There was a tragic event that was about to happen in my life that I never knew would change the course of my entire life. And I'll leave it at that for now. But I was upcoming, it was in the wintertime, and I had got a good job. I had just bought a house. I had my last son was on the way, was due to be born in April of 97. And he was born. And when we moved to 1998, during this time period, when my last son was born, I was able to finally, after years of working hard, and I would work 8, 10 hours a day, I finally was able to buy my second wife a home, and she worked too. And we had a house on Gordon Street. Uh, and I was doing other things in football games, and we'll get to all of that with some of the names that I've given you already. Uh, Pat Mulrooney, John Caparanus, Kurt Hennig. These guys are all gone now, and so I'm. One of the things you'll notice is I may be a dragon, but I am a lonely dragon at this point. But I'm used to it. And let me shut it down and see if I can pull it back up and have him with me. I'll be right back. I'll give you one. Drgonsword out.